Thanks, Lester. Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome once again to StackX Data Science Connect. My name is Jason, and I lead the Data Science and AI division here at GovTech. Very happy to be here to share our approach in charting out data science and AI capabilities for the government. Every organization wants to leverage data and AI. I think 2PS mentioned it has the potential to change the world. But it's not easy, and many organizations struggle, including government agencies, for various reasons. The Data Science and AI division was therefore set up as a capability center to help uplift our government's data science and AI capabilities for public good. As a capability center, there are 4 things that we do in very simple terms. One is we partner agencies to deliver business value with impactful data science and AI projects. Second, as Xiaoho alluded to, we help to scale these efforts really with the implementation of central products and platforms. Third, we want to support whole of government capability building efforts with the upskilling of public officers, as well as uplifting the capabilities of the public agencies themselves. Fourth, we also need to do well as a functional leader, so we continue to deepen our expertise in core domain areas. We also push white space innovation just to stay abreast of tech developments. We have made steady progress over the past couple of years. Xiaoho alluded to it. We were just barely a team of just under 20 data scientists 6 years ago. Then we were focused on demonstrating proof of value that impactful data science projects had value. Since then, with the digital government blueprint as well as the government data strategy, we have grown. We have grown to help to address some of the data foundations. We have grown to help accelerate growth with our products and platforms. And we always pay attention to investing in our people as well. Xiaoho mentioned there's about 60 to 70, right? That's probably just the data scientists out of the house. I think if you count our AI engineers, our data engineers, as well as all the product development people, we are almost double the size today. Moving ahead in the next round, we really need to think about how to better further partnerships and collaboration with the external community. This therefore shows a quick recap of the critical components of our approach in charting out the data science and AI capabilities for the government. I want to start off with value, because data science and AI projects must deliver value. It must enable business objectives. And then I'll move on to talk about data, then products, people, and partnerships. Let me start with value. I'll just give some illustrative use cases across the whole of government. I think 2PS mentioned we really need to get up to speed with data science and AI and try to integrate them into the core business functions of the government. Whether this is in terms of enhancing policy making, whether this is in terms of improving service delivery, or whether this is in terms of trying to optimize our internal operations. Our policy officers actually do look at the citizen demographic data quite a bit. Okay, through clustering analysis, we try to better understand the different archetypes. We try to better understand the different segments, and then look at having more targeted policy formulation, whether this is from the social or economic side of the house. I'll just share maybe in the next couple of minutes, just 5 simple but illustrative examples across these 3 business functions. The Ministry of Manpower, from the manpower planning side of the house, they implemented Compass. Compass is a new points-based system for employment pass application. It was not an easy problem to solve because, how do you decide which are the multiple criteria to use? How do you decide how many points per criteria? So MOM took a very data-driven approach to this policy making. They looked at the data they had, whether this is the past or present EP application and current stock. And then together, we developed a simulation dashboard to help to assist in designing some of these policy parameters to model the outcomes for Compass. And this was very useful because the policymakers and officers could rapidly test their policy parameters and get the set of impact assessment. So it really helped. More importantly, this is a huge endeavor involving multiple agencies, different agencies with different policy considerations. So this also allowed the agencies to effectively debate on the same page, looking at the same set of data, the same set of assumptions, and the same set of impact assessment. DS Poon, who is our Chief Data Officer for MOM, will share more about this in the afternoon track as the keynote speaker. Is also going to share more about MOM's data transformation culture. Moving on the economic policy side of the house, MTI implemented Project Nerve to facilitate their data sectoral hub. They did this by pulling together economic data from both the private sector as well as the private sector. And this is really to enable more real-time macroeconomic sensing, as well as have a better sense of the industry, trade, and enterprise health. Kuhan, who is our principal economist from MTI, will actually share more details about this in the afternoon track as well. On the right, you see some of Nerve's product. Okay, I won't steal the thunder, he has a lot more to share, but just as an example, planners can actually be looking at the current state of the free trade agreement utilization, and they can also actively identify companies that can potentially benefit from some of these tariff savings. Moving on the service delivery side of the house, we have MSO. MSO is a one-stop shop for citizens to actually give municipal feedback on a day-to-day basis. Last year, we rolled out a new AI-powered one-service chatbot to allow citizens to easily report some of these issues by Telegram or WhatsApp. It's built on top of Vika, which is a real-time conversational chatbot that is able to extract the necessary information from the citizens. We implemented an automated classifier, so with the feedback tags, with the geolocation data, with the images submitted by the residents, we are able to automatically case route this to the agency responsible. In the past, it used to be officers manually doing all these case routing, which is quite onerous because there's over 20 agencies and 12 town councils. So this definitely allowed much more convenient and faster one-stop service delivery response. On the job skill side of the house, we have My Career Futures portal, which is a government portal by WSG to help facilitate job searches. 2PS briefly mentioned it. So job searches are not easy. At any point in time, there could be over 50,000 job vacancies, over 50,000 job seekers. So it was quite an onerous process if not done properly. So our team looked at actually what was the data that was available. We put it together, and then we applied some of the AI techniques like collaborative filtering, very similar to how Netflix recommendation engine works. For example, we recommended some of these job options to this person because people of similar persona actually applied for these jobs. We saw a 20% increase in performance over the existing vendor solution then, and we continue to administer now over 1 million applications, over 100,000 job applicants, and we will continue to refine our models to do better. On the internal ops side of the house, we have this Enterprise Singapore that works closely with a network of SME centers. They provide business advisory as well as capability upgrading workshops for the SMEs. Every month, they get almost 2,000 to 3,000 engagement reports highlighting ground concerns. And in the past, you need the officer to manually read through all these reports, consolidate the key issues, and probably a few weeks or maybe even months later have this aggregate report. But what they did was to really implement this automated classifier to identify the ground concerns into an SME center sensing dashboard. You were therefore able to identify much more timely review of these case trends and emerging issues. It led to better understanding, and Enterprise SG were able to address some of these concerns in a much more timely fashion. I think I've just barely covered the tip of the iceberg with these 5 simple but illustrative use cases. Yu Zhang and Alvina will share more case studies that we have in the afternoon track. For some of the DSAI past projects that we have done, you can also scan the QR code to access our Medium blog. I think in reflection, when we were doing these projects, right, probably 2 things I wanted to point out. First issue is, Xiaoho alluded to it. Actually, the first question we always tend to ask is, actually, what's the prompt you're trying to solve? It is important to have clarity of the prompt statement. Second, we realize that actually more often than not, data is a huge bottleneck. And that leads me nicely to the next section on data. I'd like to start off this next section on data with this very classic slide about the hierarchy of needs for data science. More often than not, a lot of time is taken at the bottom half, data acquisition, cleaning the data. But actually time, or rather value, is released at the top through exploitation of use cases. So a fully functional data architecture with well-governed policies and processes will help to take care of the bottom, enabling the top, data exploitation at speed and scale The government data architecture was therefore set up somewhat for that intent. It enables secure data sharing across whole of government. It does this by designating first the single sources of truth, who are responsible for acquiring, cleaning, and maintaining high-quality data set. Then we have the 4 trusted center that's responsible to fuse data together based on desired use cases. We also have the central tools and platforms on the right, Vault, Geospace, TCS, analytics.gov. Allows data users to download, discover, request, and then be able to analyze these data sets in a safe and secure environment. I'll probably take the next couple of minutes just to elaborate on the Trusted Center sensor, just to give a sense. That's also something that my team is responsible for. So the Trusted Center sensor, we see it as the one-stop sensor data platform. We consolidate, store, distribute, and exploit government-owned sensor data set designated as core data set. We were first designated in September 2020, but since then, we have taken on board 14 core data sets across 12 agencies. This could be your transport data, this could be your utility consumption data, this could be your municipal feedback data. And then we had implemented a one-stop platform where you can actually self-service and request some of these data sets, high-quality data sets, of course, upon authorization, and be able to exploit and analyze these big-scale sensor data sets in the analytics environment provided on the right-hand side. We have served more than 100 projects across 40 agencies. And some of the use cases, I'll just give a very broad sense, right? For example, on the transport and urban side of the house, with aggregated commuter travel patterns, urban and transport planners can look at it for their purpose. And then planners can also look at the crowd densities for public amenities for the purpose of their planning operations. And on the environment and sustainability side of the house, because we have the utility consumption data, water, gas, electricity, at the very baseline, we can automate the publication of these consumption statistics. For example, the household private consumption data, the industry sector usage statistics, for example, even our own whole of government sustainability environment initiative. And then more interestingly, actually, we can also look at longer term sustainability studies. For example, looking at consumption trending and profiling in terms of some of the indexes below. I think there is a lot of potential here, especially in the environment and sustainability space. And we encourage agencies who are interested to reach out to us. In fact, Edwin, who is our principal product manager for TC Sensor, will be sharing more of these technical details in the afternoon track. Moving on, I'll just talk about Vault, just as an illustrative platform. There's also TC Sensor as well as Geospace, but I'll just talk about Vault for now. Vault can be seen as the one-stop platform to discover and assess demographic business data. You have the metadata catalog, you can browse the data, and if you want, download sample data sets for immediate data exploration. All these access and downloads are tracked. We have data security and compliance measures well baked into the approval workflow. I'll talk about analytics.gov. This is the central product for all levels of data users to actually exploit data securely. Again, it comes with its built-in data security and compliance measures. We secure up to confidential, and increasingly we are progressively rolling also the sensitive high measures in accordance to government's requirements. And you get access to a wide range of analytics tools, whether it's Jupyter notebooks with high compute capacity, whether it's visualization tools like Tableau or ClickSense. You also have a GitLab repo for users to actually share code with the public sector data community. Sounds good, right? So if you have a demographic core dataset use case, actually end-to-end, we got you covered. As 2PS had mentioned, data sharing, 7 working days for 99% of the data requests. But more importantly, it's a lot more convenient and efficient with GDA and the central tools because first, you don't have to be knocking on the doors of every SSOT to ask for the data. Second, you get access to this common data analytics environment as well as tools. This is especially useful for low maturity agencies who may not have their secured data infrastructure to do this. So therefore, leverage the tools. These are very common tips, and I'll be happy to say that MTI did exactly that, right? So Kuhan will be sharing more about the NERF as a sectoral data hub, and they leverage both the Trusted Center, analytics.gov, as well as Vault. But we also recognize that from a government data architecture perspective, there are also use cases outside, especially for agency-specific ones, where we do need to pay attention to see how to help the agency for some of these smaller use cases, even as we are actually trying to grow more data sets within the GDA. So data infra in a box tries to do exactly that. We try to develop DIAB to help agencies, especially low maturity agencies, set up their secure data infrastructure. And our vision is to do it in days and not months. Okay, and we do this by giving it baked-in best practice security and compliance configurations, and also the secure integration with the central tools I mentioned earlier. We do this by leveraging IC templates using Terraform, and this works within the GCC environment. We try to use cloud-native tools where possible, but we're also open to exploring external tools if required. This is work in progress, and we'll share more details when ready. In the afternoon track, we also have Kim Eng and Melissa sharing more about data engineering best practices to help agencies strengthen their data foundations across various dimensions. Because it's not just about the technical infrastructure I spoke about earlier, but you also need to understand the use cases, the sponsors, the people and resources, just to cover a more comprehensive angle. I'd like to maybe wrap up this section by sharing 3 exciting engineering priorities we have for the next bound. First, we are looking at enhancing the capabilities of analytics.gov, give it more MLOps capabilities, put in additional analytics tools as well. Second, quite exciting, we are developing a data sharing platform to better enable private-public data sharing. Very excited by this. It will come with the necessary anonymization and data security controls. It will also be supported by the relevant data sharing policies. We work very closely with our Government Data Office, and also the necessary data governance processes and structures. We're already piloting trials with MOH and IHIS, and we'll share more details when ready. Third, we actually had set up a data privacy protection capability center, and we look to deepen expertise in that area. In the journey ahead, we'll look at developing central tools to better help agencies with high-risk data sets. At the same time, we're also studying emerging PP tech areas, for example, differential privacy, synthetic data generation. So in all, I think on this count, we recognize the data conundrum and that we definitely want to look at many exciting developments to better address that. Moving on to talk about products. This slide will show some of the central AI products that we have. Details are actually on Dev Portal for quite a few of them, so I won't go through all. I'll just highlight a few. On the top left, you have GovText, which is a common text analytics platform. Agencies and users can upload their documents and do topic modeling as well as text summarization on it. On the bottom right, we have the fraud detection platform. This allows agencies to actually conduct due diligence on their grant recipients, businesses, and partners to really try to counter grant fraud against the government assistance schemes. And there are quite a few agencies that may be involved in that. I'd like to take the next couple of minutes perhaps to share more about Jumpstart and VAS, just to give you a sense of some of our design considerations for our products. This is quite a busy slide, but I'll try to break it down. Jumpstart, this is seen as our central AI platform for job skill products across whole of government. On the right-hand side, you see really the data side of the house, right? And design feature 1 is really about taking care of the data with centralized data modeling. So data before AI was what 2PS had said. Chaho mentioned about the data conundrum. So from Jumpstart perspective, we really considered very deliberately what are the relevant data sets that we can bring in, whether this is system clickstream data from, for example, my careers future or my skills future, or whether this is data that the applicant themselves submit, or whether this is data that we can pull from the admin GDA side of the house, so that the recommendations are a lot more optimized and personalized to the applicant. For some of these, we have to build data ingestion and modeling pipelines, but we pay very deliberate attention to this. However, once we get this done, it's reusable because we can also extend it to other applications that is responsible for jobs and skills. Which brings me nicely to the next design feature, a microservice approach. AI as a service is what we endeavor for, so we handle the difficult part about training, modeling, and then other job skill products can easily incorporate this into their service journey by simply calling Jumpstart's API. This is quite reusable, For example, other applications I did mention, My Careers Future is already using it. We power some of their recommendations. At the same time, we can also power applications, for example, for the career coaching clients. I think there's a lot more we can do to better serve the three stakeholder groups, both the citizen job seekers, the employers, as well as even policy officers, for example, who may be looking at the labor market trends, looking out for some spikes, and then seeing what are the policies or even operations they need to refine to better support those. I'll talk about video analytics system next. This is our central AI platform to scale VA adoption across whole of government. And there are many, many use cases which I suppose everybody is just discovering. For last year or the year before, we implemented the automated crowd counting with national parks for the purpose of COVID-19 safe distancing measure. So from a design perspective, I think two things we were thinking deliberately about. One is enable. How do we enable rapid development and deployment of VA solutions? Second is how do we expand? How do we significantly expand the platform's reach in terms of the video sensor network as well as the video insights? So VAS was built with three key components. You have the VAS Insight Services. This is where, based on government use cases, we develop and then there are ready-made models for these specialized use cases, and we continue to grow the library. Then second, we have a video I/O, where actually agencies and users can do it themselves. They can annotate and train the VA models themselves using open source neural network models. And this, in a sense, democratizes the capability, which is good because you can get that done for non-complex VA cases. Then third, as its name suggests, we have the Cloud Video Exchange, which helps to really facilitate the exchange of video streams, video feeds, as well as the metadata around it. So from a platform perspective, I think the challenge is always trying to figure out how to grow and expand the ecosystem because you need critical mass. And once you get critical mass, everybody will significantly benefit because the access they have to a much larger pool of video sensor feeds, as well as the library of video insights that can be reusable based on agencies' own relevant use cases. But the challenge we face from a platform level is trying to get that critical mass. I'd like to share also, we also face some challenges from the product side of the house. So one thing that I thought could be useful is that when we look at trying to democratize and have self-service products, right? I've also noticed that in some organizations, when the demand can be a bit more complex, is then either outsourced or handled by a different side of the organization that could be more skilled. And then when you have products that democratize and users can self-service, it's slightly different because now the users have to take on this task. So in the longer term, it's actually much better because you get a much closer interaction. But in the shorter term, we do need to watch out and manage some of these transition and change management, which then brings me nicely to perhaps the next section on people. And there's a lot of change management that could be involved. Culture building towards a data-driven organization is not easy. For that, we have set up a small cap dev team that's responsible to help upskill public officers, as well as uplift the capabilities of public agencies in their data transformation efforts. And there are a couple of initiatives which I'll share quite quickly. So in terms of upskilling public officers, we develop competency frameworks for different types of competency. This could be for data visualization, machine learning, data engineering, and supported by training roadmaps with curated courses from quality partners, including our very own digital academy. From a training resource perspective, we developed, for example, our data literacy e-primer. This is accessible by public officers on their public service learning app. And we try to make learning about data actually fun and engaging. Otherwise, if it's too boring, I think people probably won't take it up too much. So we try to actually have very fun videos, and we have put the links for these videos actually on Dev Portal. You can access the QR code on the left here. So if you're not within the public service, just also take a look and enjoy those videos yourself. And then we have the Data Champions Bootcamp, which helps to train the business power users as data champions with intermediate skill sets. So agencies can actually self-help themselves as well. We believe in regular community building. So we do host very regular Data Science Connect. In fact, this event is the 23rd edition of our Data Science Connect in conjunction with StackX. So over the last 4 years, I think we have built up a community core of almost 6,000 community members, and we will continue to do more. Then you have the Data Arcade Tournament. This is our annual whole of government data visualization competition, where officers get to pit their data storytelling and data visualization skills against one another. Last year, we had almost 1,300 officers, over 430 teams across 65 participating agencies. This year is our 5th year running, and I look forward to a very exciting finals in November. In terms of uplifting the capabilities of public agencies, we try to help with transformation playbooks. In fact, on the right-hand side, you see here, working very closely with National AI Office, we developed the public sector AI playbook to better support the government AI strategy. So do go and take a look. It's actually the same QR code in the same dev portal. Do take a look. I think it's quite interesting because we put in some of the use cases which I've mentioned. At the same time, we also shared some nuggets of our government AI strategy so that agencies as well as users, right, they can better understand AI and then figure out how to scope this into the business context of their agencies. And we are constantly rolling out new content. So we are in the midst of developing a data transformation playbook with our own use cases that we hope to share in time to come. And there's a new methodology we are quite excited by called Analytics by Design. We hope that it can get and encourage organizations to really think data first, upstream, analytics by design. I won't steal the thunder, but Joseph, who's our head capability development, will be sharing more about this in the afternoon track. And then you have the management workshops and masterclasses, which we think is very important. In fact, tomorrow on this event itself, we are running the 2nd edition of our Data Leaders Dialogue. This aims to connect over 100 data transformation leaders to talk about the data transformation challenges that the organizations may face, as well as good use cases and best practices. The X version for Data Champions Bootcamp and the Data Arcade Tournament is simply a localized version that we work very closely with the partnering agencies to customize the content more for their needs. So I wanted to also highlight that on this front, right, actually data science and AI is like a language, okay? You need to be able to understand, if not speak the language, to be able to communicate effectively. Otherwise, we would just be talking past each other. So different ranks all need to internalize this language. And like language, you need to talk and speak the language often enough so that you don't totally forget it, which is why we are quite interested in running some of these regular activities. 2PS had also mentioned that we are starting to deploy our data scientists to the agencies as well as relevant expertise. We call these these forward deployed teams. So we currently have about 6 forward deployed teams out there, and we look to progressively grow this capacity and capability over the next 3 to 5 years. So in a sense, it's almost like a laissez-faire DSAI hub and spoke kind of organizing model. For the rest of the data science and analytics teams out there across whole of government, it's a bit more decentralized, but we really try to connect effectively through to them with the various sharing platforms. Because there's so much to do, right? We really need to leverage the whole of government effort. But beyond the whole of government effort, we also need to figure out how to connect outside of the whole of government, which then brings me nicely to the next section, partnership. We can't do this ourselves, so there are at least 3 ways we think we can partner. One is really having thought leadership exchanges. Just like today and tomorrow, we invite industry partners to really join us on these various sharing platforms, because I think there is a lot of good experiences, good insights that we can learn from one another. We also support industry partners in their product test drive with the community members as well. We also have the DSAI bulk tender, which was launched last year, and this allows us an efficient model to tap on industry capacity to optimally support agencies for their data transformation effort. To date, we have utilized almost a quarter of it, and almost 60 agencies have tapped on it. And we hope to see how we can support this better through various outreach sessions. Finally, I think on the product side of the house, we take quite a modular approach in terms of our own products. And we try to build the core architecture ourselves where required. And actually moving forward, we do need to figure out how to buy and collaborate wherever possible for efficiency because resources will be limited. In the afternoon track, my video analytics team will share more about how they are working with Visense, and Visense helps us to optimize the runtime deployment of our VA model so that we can be a lot more focused in terms of the development of the specialized models for the government specific use cases. And we can also be more focused in terms of integrating best of class video analytics component for the ecosystem. I think that was a very quick 30 minutes in terms of our path in charting out data science and AI capabilities for the government. But I thought I'll just share 3 parting thoughts in conclusion. I think that is not any magic sauce or any secret stuff. I mean, some organizations may even figure out how to do this better in terms of their strategy. But first, I would say focus is key because there's just so much potential. We can end up boiling the ocean if you are not careful. And taking small steps, trying new things, be prepared to fail and progress forward, I think that's ultimately important because focus is key, execution is everything. Second, I think aspirations are important. It's not, don't get too focused such that it's all in silos, right? I think every step of our growth, Xiaoho has always challenged us to think beyond what can we do better, from our consulting days to building product to platform, and now challenging us to really look at the aspirations of the potential of tapping on the ecosystem. Finally, in charting out data science and AI capabilities for the government, we are guided by our mission to uplift our government's data science and AI capabilities for public good. It's both exciting and purposeful, and I'm very privileged to have actually with me a team of people who are highly committed to this purpose. With that, I've come to the end of my sharing. Thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of StackX Data Science Connect. Thank you.